Well, hello. So I am less makeup today. I look crazy in this lighting. Let me back it up a bit. Today we're gonna go to the dermatologist, and I am 30 years old, and this is the first time I've ever gone. And I could give you my whole family history of how like none of them go for preventative stuff. So like I don't know, it just wasn't a thing in my family. And some of you guys have even said like, you know, it's just, I don't know, if you're raised that way, it's hard to like break that. But I'm like, you know what? I am fair skinned. I get moles really easily, and I've gotten a few new ones recently. And so I'm like, you know, I should get this checked out. So I made an appointment, and for a new patient appointment, they're like, yeah, it's going to be like a million years from now. I'm like, all right. So I think it was like 6 months waiting list or something for new patients. So it's finally today. I'm going to head there. I have less makeup on because I've heard really not to wear makeup at all. I put a little bit on because I just filmed an actual video, and I was going to wash it off, but I'm running out of time. So I'm like, if they need me to wash it off, I've heard they have stuff there, so she can kind of look at my face too. I'm nervous and excited because I know that melanoma and skin cancer is so common, and a lot of people catch it a little bit too late, or they catch it and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. It was just like a normal mole or whatever. So I'm nervous and excited because I know this is something I need to do for myself, but I'm nervous because A, I don't like going to the doctor. Who does? But B, you know, I've heard sometimes they'll remove them right then and there. So, and I've heard it's not, I'm saying a lot of I've heard because that's all I can base it on today. But I have heard that it's usually painless when they remove them, but I don't know. I'm curious, but I figured I would take you guys along because A, it makes me feel a little bit better, and B, I figured this would raise a little bit of awareness that this is something important to do. So what I'm getting today is called a skin cancer screening, or really it's like a full body skin exam. So that's what I scheduled if you're curious and you're wanting to call a dermatologist and schedule one yourself. So I gotta go. I gotta get there in like 30 minutes and be 15 minutes early, and it's 15 minutes away. So I just got here and my hair's down now because I forgot. Another thing I'd read was to have your hair down because they might blow dry through your hair to kind of look at your scalp. So I figured I'd take that down. Actually, I took it down from that bun and there was like a little bit of curl to the bottom. I'm like, wow. So I guess what I would say is right off the bat, my recommendations would be wear no makeup, wear your hair down if possible. So I didn't put like perfume or lotion, you know, I'm just trying to be as like stripped as possible. But I'm still nervous. I'm like more anxious for this than I am for like a lot of other doctor visits because it is a little bit personal, and it is, I don't know. Of course I'm nervous, like if they found anything, but at the same time, I'd be relieved. And I read a lot of your guys' comments when I've mentioned this before saying, you know, that some of you guys went in and got something checked and it did turn out to be cancerous, and luckily they caught it then, and luckily they removed it then. So that alone is enough to inspire me to go, and I hope it inspires you guys to go and get checked just in case. All right, I'll stop stalling. I gotta go in. It's raining and I forgot a raincoat and an umbrella. Okay, so they had me take everything but my undergarments off and put on just like a backless kind of robe thing. So they gave me a minute to do that, and then they kind of asked about my concerns, and I brought up a few, like the one on my eye that I want them to look at closely, but they're gonna check everywhere, and they can kind of move your undergarments around if they need to, like if you have an area of concern in those areas. So here we go. I'm done, and it was not that bad. I'm gonna tell you all about it. Let me get out of this building first and I'll tell you. Okay, so first things first, I did have 2 actually removed. And one was removed because she suspected it was a little bit suspicious. It was just on my leg. And it's so funny because it was one that I wasn't concerned about. When I was kind of looking at my body and like thinking about which ones I wanted to specifically mention, it was one that I was like, it's not really raised, but it was kind of darker on one side than the other. So they removed that one, and then they removed one on my neck that bothered me. It was really, really raised. But I did learn a couple more things about some other questions I had about skincare I wanted to share with you guys. I'd asked her about like the mole on my eye, and she said, honestly, it looks fine. It looks healthy. It doesn't look weird. And she said, just make sure you keep your eye appointments regularly every year, and he can keep an eye on it as well. And she also mentioned that even though I have a lot of moles, she said they really don't look unhealthy, you know, or anything alarming. She said, so really just come back on an as needed basis. You don't have to come back every year. I'm like, okay. So I figure I might put in my calendar literally for like 3 years from now to make another, because she said if you want to come back every few years, that's fine. I'm like, okay. But the removal was not bad. So if you have to have any removed, I asked the nurse, I was like, how often do you feel like people come in and actually need to get something removed? And she said, honestly, about 70% of the time. She said some of the time it's like they want it removed, like for me, the one on my neck. But she said about 70% of the time, the doctor actually wants to remove at least one. So it is pretty common, and they're going to send them off to pathology to find out about, you know, just in case. It's kind of them doing their due diligence to make sure that nothing is precancerous or actually cancerous, things like that. Start the car, it's a little hot. And the sun is shining, what a concept. She also told me what I thought I had on my arm, redness. You can kind of see it there. And I said, it kind of comes and goes. Sometimes it's bumpy. And she said, hold on, it's in front of me. Keratosis Pilaris, which I'd read about like on Reddit and stuff. There are like entire like subreddits devoted to it. But she was telling me about some of her favorites. She said her favorite topical treatment is amlactin. There are a couple options she gave, but there's one she circled that's her favorite. So I think I'm gonna pick that up and give that a try, because I have like the red bumps on my legs too, even on my lower legs, which I didn't used to. And I kind of attributed that to like having a baby. I'm like, oh, your skin kind of changes. But she's like, no. She said, oftentimes it's an indicator that you have sensitive skin as well, which was interesting because I really don't, like, at least on my face. Like, a lot of things don't bother me. I don't break out, knock on wood, very easily from things, but I think just generally I must have sensitive skin. So that was interesting to learn. So I'm excited to know what to use for that. She also gave me a handout because I asked her about retinol, and she smiled, and I'm like, what? And she said, no, you're at the perfect age to start using it. She said, honestly, I tell anyone, if they're asking about it, you should start using it, because if you're noticing signs, then go for it, because she really does believe that it helps. But she said, use it at night. And she recommended, she said, put it on, you know, wash your face, put on your moisturizer, whatever else, let the moisturizer sink in for 20 minutes, then go in with the tiny amount of retinol. I had no idea. I swear to you, I had researched a couple times and I'd read you could mix it with other things, like I've been using the Drunk Elephant one, or to just put it on your face and then put moisturizer on top. So I'm really glad that she mentioned that. She said that should help with any redness or peeling that you experience. And she recommended to start twice a week and then build up. She said, and of course, if you're noticing tons of redness and peeling, scale back, do it once a week, etc. And she said there's nothing really wrong. They're just not as potent, but there's nothing wrong with the over-the-counter retinols you can get mixed into other things in skincare. She said, especially because I do have that keratosis pilaris, she said, if you do notice tons of redness, tons of peeling, she said, just use the over-the-counter ones. You don't have to use the prescription strength one. So I know they sent off a prescription to my pharmacy for Tretinoin. So I am curious to try it. I'm hoping that with my insurance, it's slightly cheaper. Obviously, the Drunk Elephant one I'm using is really expensive. So we're just going to see. I'm very curious. And of course, as every dermatologist will tell you, sunscreen is your best friend. She said, do you wear sunscreen on your face every day? I'm like, yes. She's like, okay. I'm like, okay. No, she said, that's good. She said, and she said, don't forget your hands. So I need to be better about that. She said, because that's the thing that people, when they're older, the first thing they say is, I wish I'd worn more sunscreen on my face and my hands, because that's where you see signs of aging very quickly, right? So I was reading a little bit more and I figured I would share with you if you're curious. The SPFs that she recommends is CeraVe AM, which I'm actually using for an upcoming drugstore skincare video. So I just bought it the other day, so I'm excited. So CeraVe AM, Olay, Neutrogena, Elta MD is on my list I want to eventually try. So those that are all SPF 30, and make sure it's non-comedogenic, so it's not clogging your pores. So that's good to know. I'm always curious what dermatologists, you know, I watch dermatologists on YouTube, but you know, they all have their own idiosyncrasies. They all have the things that they really, you know, look for, and then they've all read different studies, and they, you know, so I feel like generally most of them will agree on a lot, but they don't agree on everything, because it is a science and there's new stuff coming out all the time. So I'm always curious, like with Rex like that. So I'll see if I can find links to the specific ones and put them down below if you're curious. I know a few of them, I know exactly what she's talking about, but like some of them it's kind of general. So I'll see what I can find online and link below. But healing wise, if you do get any removed, they just said to not get it wet for 24 hours, which is, I just showered, so that's fine. And then they said to make sure that you, like, for the next week to put Vaseline on it, which I thought was interesting. Vaseline and a Band-Aid on it every day for a week, and everything should be good. It should heal flat and not raised, you know, where it was. The nurse was so funny too, so it really eased my stress, because I kind of told her I was nervous and she was just so funny. They numb the area, so the worst pain you feel is the little prick of them like starting to put the lidocaine in. Is that what it was? And then they kind of do tests to make sure you can't feel anything. They can put a little bit more in if you want, but it doesn't, you know, it's fine. if you're scared of needles, I guess it might bother you, but I just don't watch, and then it's done, and then you literally don't feel anything when they're removing them. So that was nice. But generally, like the things I was nervous about, anytime you're like taking off all your clothes and going in and, you know, putting on the thing, but that was no big deal. I mentioned that I had one in like a scandalous spot, and she checked that, no big deal. You know what I mean? So even if you have ones in spots that you're nervous about, just mention it. She'll check it really fast. It's all done. And the only people in the room were the doctor and the nurse. And then in this case, they had a female scribe that was like typing everything she noticed that the doctor was saying. I mean, I'm excited to try real retinol. I'm excited to have something to help combat the KP on my arms and legs. And I'm excited that those few were removed. Hopefully everything's fine. They said in a few weeks they'll tell me. And I know this was a kind of a quick vlog and maybe not interesting to most of you, but I'm hoping this was helpful for some of you guys that are thinking about getting a full skin exam, or maybe you're nervous about it because you have one scheduled like I was. Whatever the case may be, it's worth doing. I've read so many stories from you guys, like I mentioned earlier, of people, you know, you're just kind of going in like, yeah, let's get it checked. And then they discover, oh, actually this is a melanoma, and it is, you know, it will spread if you don't take care of it, that kind of thing. It's scary, and it's way more common than I think we all realize. So it's worth getting checked out, especially if you have a similar skin to me, pale, fair skin, especially if you have moles and freckles, and especially like I've been gaining more recently, which made me a little bit concerned. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope you'll subscribe to catch more of my beauty and lifestyle videos. I know this was very different for my channel, but I just wanted to share this experience with you all. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.